What's going on, YouTube? Claic Yuzolt back again with another Final Fantasy Brave Exvius video, and in today's video we're talking all about my boy Neo Vision Rain. We're going to talk about how to build him, how to get the most out of his damage, and then talk about his support capabilities because he has a lot of it. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so it's time to review and talk about my boy Rain here. He's going to be a new Neo Vision unit, which means he's going to be like Cloud. When you summon him, you're going to get a random vision card, and it's going to be all great and dandy, and he has his own vision card as well, which we'll talk about. I am using this is not my Rain, I wish it was. This is the Rain from the LB mission, but it makes it simple enough to where I can show him off, at least like I have been in these videos. So on one side, Rain is going to be a kind of a damage dealing, fire damage dealing unit that also has a lot of support capabilities for his team. And when he shifts over, he turns into his Hyoh bad boy form, and he is going to be doing a lot more damage just straight up on this form. This form is going to be like an LB damage dealer because the LB actually does quite a lot of damage. Now let's go back and talk about the passes for each. Both units are going to have 200% true, or both sides of him, excuse me, are going to have 200% true double hand, meaning you guys are going to want to build them TDH, and you're going to have to get 200% more out of your equipment if you guys want to cap that off. Both forms have human and beast killer, but it's going to switch off depending on which form you have. In the human form, I guess this isn't the human form, the normal Rain form, you're going to have 150% beast killer and then 50% human killer. And when you turn into Naughty Boy Rain, you're going to have 150% human killer and then 50% beast killer. So just be aware of that. Think when he's like a bad boy, he's going to have more human killer, and that's going to help you out in fights where you got to fight humans, which is a lot. And beast is actually quite substantial now as well, so that's pretty good. In his normal form, he is going to have 100% fire resist, and you can see that he loses that when he switches to his Hyoh form, so that's something to be aware of. Both forms will have guts, which is a great thing to have, and then they both have LB interactions in their passives. When he's in his normal form, he's going to have LB fill rate up to try to get that LB up there, and then when he switches to his Hyoh form, when he's using Ultimate Nova down here, that is actually going to be doing a lot more damage, so he's going to have LB damage up. I think it's 100% LB damage up as a passive, and he loses off on the fill rate. As far as status element, you can see here that we have Paralyze, Confuse, Petrify, and Blind Resist is really what you want on a physical damage dealer. And other than that, guys, that's going to be what we're talking about with passives and how to build them up. So again, in his normal form, true double hand, as much damage as you can get on him, as much attack as you can get on him, and then put the killers on. When you shift over to Hyoh, you're still going true double hand. However, you want to throw some LB damage in there if you can fit it in, along with as much attack as you can, and then killers, and again, true double hand. Going down and talking about his Trust Mastery reward, we have a new power, boost LB damage by 30%, boost equipment attack by 75%, so it's true double hand by 75%. This is a great materia here that you do want to get your hands on. I would highly suggest it. However, we do have a weird number here in 75%. It's not the 50% or 100%, those nice, like, you know, even numbers where we could really build it up. And a lot of builds right now with what we have out there, you are going to be stuck with going over a little bit if you use this materia. Still within the same doing respects to it, I still think you want to use it for the massive LB damage up, and then also helping you reach that 400% that is kind of hard to hit. Moving over to his STMR, it's going to be Obliterating Crimson Saber. We get a new one. We're going to have as many Crimson Sabers as Buster Swords in the game. I could promise you that. It has no element attachment to it. Attack 184 and the two-handed, and it has a Power of the Sun passive, which is going to boost fire damage of LB, abilities, and magic by 10%. Now, from what I understand, this ability is cast upon entering battle and then upon being raised. It's like an ability that gets cast on you. So you cast it at the start of battle. What that means is if any other source, and Rain does it himself, we'll talk about it, buffs up your fire damage of LB abilities and magic, it will not stack with this passive. Now, I haven't been able to test it out. I'm just reading this off of what the wiki provides, and because I don't have the STMR, and then what I've talked about with other people. So this STMR really seems lackluster if you are going to be using Rain in your team, because Rain boosts by 15% when it comes to fire damage, which is great. You know, the 184 attack, two-handed weapon with no element, not really that big of a deal. We have a lot of those rolling around right now. The Power of the Sun is really what it's going to be necessary. So without that, it's really not something you have to hurry up and EX +2 and hope to get it with this Rain here. You're not too worried about that. We're going to move over to his vision card now. To review his vision card, I do have to use the news update because I do not have it yet. It's in order to change the world. It's a nice little image here of Hyoh, you know, the whole story of Rain and Murphys and how, you know, that's when he decided, hey, dude, I got to go bad boy to be able to save the world and get it to where it needs to be. We are going to get that at EX +1 and EX +3 when you have a Rain. The level 1 attack is going to be 40, then it goes all the way up to 100, which is a big stat, just like it is for the Cloud's vision card. These two vision cards, Cloud's and Rain's, the two first units coming out, are some of the strongest you'll find in the game. I think Cloud's is a little bit stronger. Moving on down, as you level it up, you are going to be required to have a large sword in your hand, but if you do, you're going to get defensive stats, whereas Cloud gave you attack percent, so giving you offensive. So if you find yourself being able to reach that cap of attack percent easily on your units, and you just want a little bit more survivability, or hey, if in a fight you do need the survivability, this would be the one to go with. And when you get it all the way to rank 10, male units will also get a boosted HP and defense by 20%. So it's very nice, because with Clouds, it has to be an FF7 unit. That's quite limiting. With male units, you know, it is limiting, but not as. So very, very good vision card. One of the top ones. I would highly suggest leveling this bad boy up if you end up getting it, and then applying it, putting it on your units, because it's going to be great. Before we move on to talking about Rain's damage dealing rotation, I have written up here as an example to get you guys started and show off how strong he is. I do want to talk about him being a support damage dealer. Now, normally when you hear support damage dealer, I know you guys are thinking, all right, so kind of medium to low tier damage, but can bring support. Rain isn't going to be like that. Rain is actually going to dish out a ton of damage, close to Cloud in a lot of situations, and, you know, depending on builds and how much you give him, he could beat Cloud in a lot of situations as well. But when we're talking about somebody that brings support to the team, you never know when you may need to deviate from that perfect damage dealing rotation and access a lot of his great abilities. So the first one we're going to talk about here is Helios Saber. This is an ability that lasts for 3 turns on this attack boost, 230%. It also 3 turns, 80% fire resist AoE, then also gives 40% damage mitigation overall. This is an insane ability. Look at all it provides. It doesn't do any damage though, right? So this is going to be taking away from what he can do damage-wise, but it is a very good ability and can provide you guys with a lot of utility. The next thing he has is Prominent Saber. Now, this one is going to be doing big damage, but it also will be buffing up attack 280% for allies for 5 turns. You can only use it 2 times per battle, so it's going to be nice damage and a bigger attack buff than what we just saw. The next thing he can do, Blaze Saber, this is how he's going to imbue himself, but he can also imbue another ally. So he's going to be able to imbue another ally to their attacks for fire. So he can kind of spread that around, and he can triple cast this. So, like, you know, if you want to use him, another chainer, and a finisher, he can put fire on himself, fire on somebody else, and then fire on your finisher, and then you kind of spread it out to everybody on the squad. He has an ability called Beast Breaker Plus, which is going to put up your Beast Killer, physical and magical, 100% to everybody for 3 turns, and boost their LB damage by 100% for 3 turns. So a lot of these crazy, like, burst windows that you may want to do or try to kill things on turn 1 with LBs, this could be a way to help you guys out with that, for sure. If you're fighting a beast, you know, buffing up your physical and magical Beast Killer by 100% is very, very nice. And last but not least, I want to talk about his ability that you guys are going to use only when you need it, and it's going to be King Saber. This ability right here will do damage, but it also removes all parameter boosts from a single enemy, so it gets rid of all of the buffs. So it's like a dispel for the enemy, but again, you guys know this one, the really good one, where you just get rid of all the bad stuff that the enemy has on. What's bad for you, good for them, like if they buff themselves, and you leave your breaks or your imperils and all that great stuff. He does have access to that, but as you can see, you have to wait 3 turns before you can use it, and then it's a use every 4 turns. So it's not going to be like on demand all the time, but it's nice to have in your back pocket with Rain moving forward. So if you need to remove buffs, he can do that. So as you can see, you never know when you're going to flip, you know, a certain button where you need, hey, I need some, you know, fire resist, or I need to buff my attack, or hey, the boss needs to be dispelled, but I don't want to get rid of my breaks. I can go access this. So that's going to deter you from the normal damage dealing, you know, setup that we're going to talk about in a minute. But that shows you how capable Rain is of kind of carrying a team in a DV setting, so dark vision setting. Rain can spread all that fire to everybody, then Rain can imperil in Hyoh's form, because in Hyoh's form, that's where he gets his imperil with Ultimate Flame Blade. I think it's 120%. Yeah, where is it at? There it is, down here. Yeah, it's all the way at the bottom. So he has that to help the team out, and if you're against the beast, he's even putting Beast Killer on you in DV. So fire physical DVs, he's gonna crush on. So without further ado, let's move over, look at a sample rotation, and show off Rain a little bit more. Okay, guys, so because I don't have Rain EX +1 in game, I can't go to my normal training dummy and show the rotation off. But what I can do is at least show you in game what you would be clicking and how it's going to go and work for you guys, at least with the free unit they provide for you to see the LB and kind of mess around with in that LB mission. So on the left side here, we have an example rotation for damage. This is specifically for damage, not to, like, you know, be a support type unit or anything like that. If you guys see Brave Shift above the turns, that means he needs to be in his Hyoh form, his Brave Shifted form. So just want to make sure you guys are aware of that. So starting out, what Rain needs to do is we need to triple cast, and we need to start with Blaze Saber. Again, as we talked about, this is going to add fire element to me and then to somebody else and do a little bit of AoE damage. So we're going to have Sylvie here get that fire damage. Next up, we're going to cast Rising Saber. This is an ability that's going to boost fire damage of LB abilities and magic for all allies. So LB, excuse me, damage, abilities and magic, and it's 15%. And again, this is why I talked about his STMR being a little weird, as from what I understand, it buffs in, it's already a buff in the fight, which I think actually Rain, let's check the one that the game provides us. Does he have his, yes, he has Obliterating Crimson Saber on, and this is a way we can test it. Let's take a look at Rain real quick and see. He does see it is a buff in battle. It's not like passively before you go into battle. So when we use Rain's ability here to do that, it's going to overtake that, right? We know that with attack buffs, LB up, Maneater, you know, anything that's in game that you buff up, the higher one takes control once you're in battle. So we're going to go ahead and, again, with a Blaze Saber, we're going to do that and cast that on Sylvie. Then we're going to go over and cast the Rising Saber to buff up all of our fire damage, because we are going to be doing fire damage as we just, you know, imbued it. And then last but not least, we're going to cast Prominent Saber. It's going to do big damage and then also buff everybody's attack by 280%. So that's going to be turn one. You're just going to pop that off. And Rain's, like, stance with his big Crimson Saber here is amazing. I think they nailed that very well. So now let's say we did that, because if I do that, the Cactuar is just going to die, and we're heading into turn two. So for turn two, if you guys weren't aware, Rain can transform just like Cloud can. He can transform on turn one. It's infinite turns in his Brave Shifted Hyoh form, and he has a 2-turn cooldown. So we're going to go ahead and Brave Shift into Hyoh real quick, and you can see it zooms in. He puts his sword up. I think that animation is awesome. They're really nailing this, you know, with Cloud jumping on his motorcycle, and now Rain. It's very, very nice. So for turn two, and we're in Hyoh form now, we're going to go into Triple Blade, and the first thing we're going to be casting is Rising Fury. Now, Rising Fury is going to fill up our LB gauge to maximum and boost LB damage next turn for casters. So, again, when we're in Hyoh form, we are looking to do big LB damage. We have, or if you can, I know you guys are building Tifa up LB, sometimes Cloud. Your LB equipment and materia are starting to become lean, so if you can't do that, that's fine, but he is really an LB damage dealer here. So you're going to do Rising Fury so we can get that LB filled up and the LB damage up as well. Then we're going to move over to Ultimate Flame Blade. Now, I want you guys to make sure you're aware of this ability. This is your Imperil. So that's one of the problems with Rain, really, is he has to switch back between both forms. He has to, you know, Fire Imbue in one form, go back to the other form to Imperil. That's good. You know, obviously you can do it and you'll see with its damage thing, it's not too bad, but it would really be nice if they were both on the same side. So then we're going to go with Ultimate Flame Blade here. And then last but not least, we're going to be using Ash Blade. Ash Blade is going to be his big damage dealing chain ability on his Hyoh side. So that's what you're going to do. And that's going to be for turn two. So pretty simple, right? Turn three, even more simple. You've buffed up your LB, you've filled it all the way up with Rising Fury, and we're just going to Ultimate Nova here and do some massive damage with our LB being boosted up, and so on. After that, you're going to want to go ahead and switch back over to Rain for turn four, because we are going to need to buff up our attack again. We're going to need to buff up our LB with Beast Breaker Plus here in a second, and we need to get ourselves imbued. So, but for this turn, we should have our imbue still on. We obviously have our Imperil. So we're just going to do his best damage dealing ability here in Rising Saber. That's the most damage you can get out of a chaining ability on the side. And you're just going to triple cast Rising Saber and just, you know, chain it up and everything's good there. For turn 5, you're staying in Rain's form. You're going to triple Saber, and you're going to go down to Blaze Saber. We need to get that Fire Elemental back on. We don't want that to fall off. We are doing fire damage, and it's boosted by Rising Saber. We're going to head down and cast Prominent Saber again. Make sure our attack buff is still up. You can only cast this 2 times per battle, but it also is big damage on the hit, so we're going to go ahead and do that as well. And we're going to be casting Beast Breaker Plus. Now, Beast Breaker Plus, I know it boosts Beast Killer, right? You guys Obviously, you can see that. But it also boosts LB damage for all allies, and it's going to buff us. And we're going to be switching back to Hyoh, and we're going to do his LB again. So we're going to make sure to cast this with the chaining and with a couple turns in between his LB. And now this turn, we should have Rain's LB gauge filled up at this point. So we're going to go ahead and cast that, make sure our LB is all good to go. And then we're going to Brave Shift the next turn after we cast those abilities and just Ultimate Nova again. So we're just going to LB again, easy peasy for big damage. The next turn following that, we need to get back onto our Imperil because it's about to fall off. So we need to make sure we cast our Imperil. We're going to cast Extreme Blade. We can only use this once per battle because it does a lot of damage. It's a big damage dealing ability on the Hyoh side. So we're going to make sure we fit that in there as well. And then we're going to cast Rising Fury again, which is going to fill up our LB gauge. That way we can go ahead and LB again. And as you guys can see, I'm sure from here, you can see how this is going to be done. You're just going to follow the rotation all the way through again. You're going to LB as many times as you can on the Hyoh side, as long as Beastbreaker has your LB damage boosted, or if Rising Fury does. And switch over to Rain form. Make sure you have your Imbue, your Imperil up, as I've shown you in here, and your Flame damage up from Rising Saber is going to be very important as well. But that is going to be the rotation for the Hyoh Cloud unit. It's very, very strong. Obviously, there's going to be better rotations out there. This is just a general one to get you, your mind into how the unit can work. And if you need to deviate from this, if you need to buff up your, your fire resist, as I said, or you need to use the breaking ability, King Saber to get rid of the dispel the enemy's buffs, that is an option for you. You can fit that into this rotation anywhere. Just be aware of always having your Imperil up, Imbue, that's how Final Fantasy works, and your LB damage up for Hyoh, and you will be successful with this unit. All right, guys, last but not least, we're going to talk about his Brave abilities that you guys can enhance and really which ones you guys should focus on. So one of the abilities I didn't talk about too much is Astral Edge here. It's going to do some damage, restore HP to caster, and restore MP to caster. This is a great ability, but it's the last ability I would focus on. You really only want to use this ability when you really need that MP or you need that HP on Rain, but it is one that you can buff. The second ability you can buff in his normal form is Rising Saber. This is the ability that gives you guys the fire damage, the magic damage, and the LB damage up for all those abilities. And it's going to be our best damage dealing ability, chaining, on this Rain side. So obviously we're going to focus on this first and foremost. And then the last one you guys will have to be able to level up is going to be Ash Blade. And this is just going to be the Hyoh side's best chaining ability. So you want to level that up as well. So I would focus in this order. I would go with Rising Saber to get that nice buff up. Then I would go with Ash Blade. And then finally, if you guys want to make sure you're maxed out that Astral Edge, because it is going to be good in situations where you really need MP. So overall, guys, how do I feel about Rain? Obviously, he's my boy, but I'm going to be honest, he is very skippable for you guys. You guys are going to be good, but as you can see, while being able to deal out a lot of NV meta type of damage, he can also bring that support for Fire DV and for any instance, honestly, because if you have like an outside Imperil, I know a lot of you guys have Vaughn, right? Vaughn on his LB is going to break and then Fire Imperil for you. So then you can just spread out the fire to your team with Rain's ability, to imbue and really lay down the damage on turn one without having to worry about switching to his Hyoh form for that Imperil on turn one, right? So there's a lot of options out there that you can mess around with Rain, but I think he's a very versatile unit in the fire realm of things, whereas Cloud, he didn't really bring support to the team. Tifa's just doing damage for the team. She has like a break or something she can do, but nothing too major there. So that's going to be the difference between Rain, Tifa, and Cloud, which I think are the three best NV units, three best units in the game right now. So he's very, very good, but very skippable. There will be a ton of units out there with different elements in NV that do a lot of damage, bring some support, and are very awesome. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below how you feel about Rain. Which form's better, Rain or Hyoh? Subscribe for future content. Follow me on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Claic Yuzolt. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.